Hello, everybody. My name is Dani, and this is Realistic Intentionality, the podcast for people who want to learn how to create the life that they exist for through realistic means of connecting to their own specific intention, because not everything works for everyone. You have to find your own path, your own beliefs, to be able to set yourself up for true, authentic success and fulfillment in your own life. And today, I have a very special guest. He's a dear friend of mine. He is someone who has helped reignite my connection with Christianity, and just a more welcoming belief and pattern of trust in the universe and God and all that is. I'm so grateful for him and his presence and his church and all that he has to say, because it truly has revolutionized the way that I really get to express my own faith. And I'm so grateful. I'm so happy he's coming on to tell us all that he has went through, his learnings, and everything he hopes to accomplish. So everyone, please welcome Josh from the Goathouse Church.
Thank you, Dani. Thank you.
Just setting you up on a big pedestal.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
I
hear
do that every episode. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm going to hype them up so that they don't even know how to hop in.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, tall, big
Tall
shoes
order.
big shoes to fill here. But yeah, I mean,
Welcome.
yeah, the church. Yeah, well, thank you for having me on here, and I'm thrilled to have you and Dylan, of course, at the church.
Yes.
You guys have been a huge part of our growth and just contributing so much in our satsang conversations that we have. So I appreciate you guys very much.
Oh, we're so happy to. You know, after so many years living at a Hindu ashram and studying Hinduism and Buddhism, you know, I came up here and I was like, you know, I want to stay that deeply like intertwined with the spiritual community, but I just knew that something with where we were at, it wasn't resonating anymore. It wasn't meant for me. And you know, Dylan grew up Christian, and he always had that faith. And like, to me, I kind of had the ick from it, you know, from my own experiences. We can get into that later, but you know, from my own experiences, I just was very removed from Christianity to get not Jesus Christ as a being or a person or an entity, but more of just the establishment. And so, you know, to find that now we are so deeply involved in a church really speaks volumes to what you're doing and how welcoming it has been for us, because we live to serve. And so we're so grateful that you do include us on the like committee meetings and like planning and interior decorating.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are fantastic. That's why I appreciate what you guys do and how you contribute. But yeah, I mean, I actually shared in that the ick vibe with you growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, my family was not religious, you know, but we didn't go to church. Like I didn't go to church as a kid, you know. And for whatever reason, and I couldn't tell you why, but my brother, who's 4 years older than me, went down a path of atheism. And as a younger brother, I sort of trailed behind him, you know.
Yeah.
So now my parents, they always had a faith in God, but like I said, we weren't the kind of family that
more general.
Yes, it was more a generalized belief system. You know, it wasn't something that was really big in our family.
Right.
So I followed my brother down the path of atheism, and it naturally resonated with me, honestly. Because I think that probably both him and I are more critical, like more skeptical individuals, you know? And what I had seen growing up was a lot of hypocrisy, but there was actually something more there than hypocrisy.
Yeah.
There was something of, it's always hard to find the words to explain it, but it was as if Christians would always look down upon you, even though they said that they didn't.
Yeah.
And that they were imposing that something that they saw was much greater than something that you saw. Like they were setting themselves up.
Right.
There's almost a narcissistic vibe to it as
No,
well.
I had a very similar experience where, like, it almost, I was baptized, but again, I was raised in a family not necessarily religious. My mom was loosely spiritual. My dad, atheist. He's an engineer. He's very, like, that
Yeah.
minded. And so we weren't raised to really have any beliefs or ties with Christianity, but other family members did.
Mm.
And I remember when I would go to, like, the Catholic church with them, if I, like, slept over at my cousin's house for the weekend. And when you go up for, like, the communion or
Yeah.
they would have me do something different because I wasn't
Oh
of the
yeah. Yep.
church,
Mm-hmm.
and people would side eye me. And
Mm-hmm.
I was a young girl. I was, you know, 9, 10, maybe like 13. Well, it's like, why should I get side eyed for just existing next to my
Mm-hmm.
cousin? But I was raised differently. And so
Mm-hmm.
I had a very similar experience where I was like, man, like, why are people, like, whispering to my aunt about me and, like, making side eyes about
Yeah.
me? It was a very, it always felt misaligned with the messages of God that they spoke of.
Mm-hmm.
What this all loving God, but then it's like, why aren't you loving me in that way?
Well, it's like that was the premier. Like love is like supposed to be the premier um, attribute of God Himself,
Mm-hmm.
but every way in which they like I was, and apparently the way that you were also received was not love, like at all.
No.
Like it was just not there. So it's like, what the heck is this? Like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
So something was obviously inauthentic and probably more self-centric
Mm-hmm.
driven.
Mm-hmm.
So I understood that, or I knew intuitively, I guess, at that point in my life that whatever was motivating these people did not seem to be of a spiritual, quote unquote, spiritual nature, is the way is what I
Yeah.
had perceived it.
Oh, for
It seemed
sure.
way more egocentric, way more self-driven,
And want to
and,
know what I think it was? I think it was fear.
yeah.
Because so many feared what would happen after they died. Like,
Mm,
so, and it's, mortality is a scary thing that we all are born into, being mortal beings. We all know that we will die. And especially in our society where it's like we really inherently fear death and seek some sort of comfort after. I mean, even as kids, it's like, oh, what happened to my hamster? Oh, they went to heaven.
mm-hmm,
And then you're like, okay, does everyone go to heaven?
mm-hmm,
Like, how do you get into this heaven? Like, how do we get there? And I feel like it's fear driven, and fear is very ego driven
mm-hmm.
because, it's like ego is to protect yourself from what you need to feel secure, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Well, that's an interesting observation, a very good way of putting it. But it also kind of lets you in on what kind of, I think, underpins a lot of that fear. And you say the fear of death. Well, it's interesting the way that we look at, even understand death itself.
mm-hmm,
Um, because like let's say as a kid, how aware are you of your own mortality?
mm-hmm,
I mean, maybe subconsciously, but there's drives
mm-hmm.
to that subconscious nature, in my opinion, such as like if you look at biblically, like what death really is, it's like all of a sudden, what death is like the loss of identity. So,
Mm-hmm.
like when you die, your body literally does break down. You begin to you disappear. Your identity
Yeah.
disappears. Um, so you could almost put that alongside of like, let's say you're a living child or what a
Yeah.
person, you're a child. Essentially, let's say you're in school and you are the one getting bullied or picked on, and you are separated from the rest of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like a death because it's a loss of identity.
It's
You're
the
not,
ego death. Yeah.
yeah, you're not being identified with the group. You're not being connected. You're not part of that identity. So like, what are you?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're just out in whatever.
Yeah.
So
Sidelines.
yeah, in the sidelines. So to the point in which you're making, um, that energy there of what death is, you can categorize that almost in that kind of in that kind of likeness.
Yeah.
So what religions do, or any groups or cults for that matter, anything. It doesn't matter if it's any kind of a political group, any kind of
Even
group,
cultural,
yes, cultures,
social.
anything.
Yeah.
What they do is they build a framework, and then you come into the framework
To fit the mold.
you fit that mold, and you will feel better about everything.
Accepted.
Accepted,
Because you
loved.
have a sense of self now. Instead of finding it
Exactly.
yourself, you get it appointed to you.
Right.
And you feel that wave of relief. Like, okay, job's done. This is who I am. This is my
Yep.
role. This is what I do. And I don't need to think about it. I don't need to worry.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it's very often we struggle to fit those molds, or we feel resistance within the mold.
Yeah.
Because it's just not right.
That, or like, let's say you're being pushed out of whatever that mold is, you're being pushed out into the mark, and so you're gonna actually become a little bit rebellious.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh well,
And resentful.
yeah, resent for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, what's wrong with me? Why aren't I fitting in here? Or I'm not meeting a certain standard, or I'm not one of the favorites, or whatever. And what happened? Yeah, it's that rebellious or that resentful spirit that triggers you to want to go into the very opposite direction sometimes. And oftentimes there's another group on the other side of that was also kicked out.
Yeah.
That are ready to take you in.
Yeah, they're ready.
They're the misfits,
So that almost is what happened with in your earlier life, where you did feel so alienated by a lot of your exposure with Christianity that it did push you towards atheism.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so when do you think that started shifting? Because obviously you're in a completely different position now.
Yeah. Well, so that was weird. It's kind of hard to explain how, like, so it was I would say I was in my early to mid 20s.
Okay.
And there was a few strange things that you could categorize as spiritual that had happened to me up to that point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that because that's kind of lengthy, but they were kind of resting there in my subconscious. And and I think I was flipping through the TV. There was a religious program that came on. I think they were speaking on Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans that I have for you, not to harm you, but to prosper you.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, that verse connected with where I was at in my life.
Trying to make sense of all those experiences.
Right. Yeah. Just dealing with reality itself.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, something triggered in my head, like, oh my gosh, like all the things I went through were not coincidence. And suddenly I just knew, I didn't even think, I just knew there was something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
So because of this, here, what was I surrounded by but Western religion, spirituality, that kind of, the Christian church. So I started to go into the church a bit to, see what it was all about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was drawn into it because at this point I knew there was something bigger than myself. I wanted to understand what that was.
And it did seem like it was speaking to you in that lens or in that language, like through
that
verse being on the TV. It's like, okay, I'm getting called not only to something spiritual from all my experiences, but specifically Christianity. Yeah. So then you followed it, and like, what was that transition like for you?
It was great. It honestly, it was. Well, my wife she did grow up Christian. Mm-hmm. They did go to church. So I'm sure that played a role in where my thoughts and where my mind were going, that left me to be vulnerable enough to even get to that point, right? Although I was, for several years of our marriage, I was pretty resistant.
Mm-hmm. I was too. Yeah. Every time Dylan, like, if I would make a really messed up joke in that kind of regard, Dylan would be like, "You shouldn't joke like that," and I was like,
yeah.
That rebellious nature.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one always, always draws you in.
Yep.
So so as soon as I expressed this to her, and I was like, I think I see it now. I think I understand. Mm-hmm. She was happy to start going to a church, So we started going to a church, a mutual friend of ours that were going. So I started going to that one, and yeah, it was a great experience.
You just fell in love.
Well, also, it's almost like what we talked about. You go into that setting, into that Christian setting, and everybody embraces you, you know. So now you all of a sudden you feel like you've just
Right.
inherited this enormous
Because
family.
they're just so happy you're there. You know,
Right.
you left whatever mold you were in, and
Right.
it's like, oh, now you're here.
Yeah.
And so they just want to
Yes,
get there.
yeah, yeah, and life just all of a sudden becomes good, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Faith.
you're encouraged. Yeah, it's wonderful. You feel loved, you feel connected. And not only that, but you are feeling the connection to something of a divine nature, something much greater than yourself. Yeah, I was hooked. I was in it, you know. So, and I also there was something in me that resonated with a lot of the spiritual talk,
Hmm.
like that I never realized was there. You know, I've always was. I guess when I was a kid, you know, I kind of dabbled a little bit in philosophy as it was,
Yeah.
and I always liked that deeper thinking, those
Hmm.
deeper levels of thinking, and this just like opened a whole new door for me. You know,
Right. It gave you a
so
vehicle to kind of
yeah,
navigate those thoughts with.
for sure, for sure. So it's like okay, I'm, you know, I now I accept or I understand there's something much larger than myself. I'm getting into the biblical scriptures. I'm starting to look at them. I'm starting to take them apart, trying to understand them. Um, and then there was this internship that was starting at the church that we were attending. It was a 14-month internship, and I think somebody might have even came to me and said, "Do you want to be part of this?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll do this," you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I joined in on that. The whole thing was phenomenal. I mean, it was the first real introduction to, let's say, academia or higher levels of academia that I was exposed to at that point of my life, you
And
know.
like, what was the content? Was it just like what
They,
were
I mean, it was a great They first you learned about personality types, and then
Oh,
it was all of that great
was
stuff.
it within the frame of Christianity, but all of that,
I
or
mean, of course, we brought that in, but it wasn't completely. I mean, it was
wow,
basic personality traits, learning what they were and different people. Now that led to, let's say, what are your spiritual gifts, you
mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah,
So then that led into deeper, more Christian or spiritual
right.
ways of approaching. But you know, we went into global leadership conference, listened to some speakers there. Everything was so and I think one of the books we read was Seven Habits for Highly Effective People, which was I thought was a fantastic
Yeah.
book. And so I mean, this it was fantastic. It was a great, you know, program. By the end of it, I think probably maybe because of just how engaged I was, uh, the pastor and the assistant pastor both came to me and they were like, you know, maybe you should think about going to seminary.
Hmm.
And I kind of like laughed at them because honestly, by trade, I'm actually a truck mechanic. I've been a mechanic like my entire life, right? So, and I had the atheist like background still, like, you know,
Right.
I felt like I had a little bit of an edge. So I'm thinking to myself,
You
okay,
were in the
a pastor.
mold.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, the whole idea of like pastor, which in my mind would be like, you know, buttoned up, nice yeah,
Uppity, comb over.
right. It was like that's not gonna happen. But you know, needless to say, I was pretty miserable as a mechanic. Like there was something in me that just I knew I wanted to work with people more than machines. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So I did go home that night. I prayed because it was like even though I was laughing it off, there was something
You
weighing
felt
on me.
something
Yeah, there
in
was
it.
something
Yeah.
there like calling me, sort of. So I was like, I prayed and I said, God, if this is something that you want me to do, you're gonna have to give me some sort of a sign, you
Hmm.
know. And I didn't tell anyone that I prayed that. I didn't tell anyone even about the fact that the pastor and assistant pastor told me that. Like my wife didn't know. Nobody knew.
Yeah, because you probably just wanted to process it in
Right.
your own
Yeah.
right before even getting outside
Sure.
opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. But that I guess the following day, my sister-in-law called me of all people and said I had a dream and you and your wife Dana were in the dream and we have to sit down and I have to tell you this. It was so vivid and so real, you know.
Uh-huh.
So we sit down on this table and she's telling this dream. Basically, it was I was standing there and I was completely covered by a cloud of bees
Mm.
and I couldn't move. I was like frozen. And then this angelic figure came out of nowhere and then reached her hand through the bees and took my hand and then guided me out of the bees, and everyone was like trying to figure out what the heck this meant.
I
And
wonder
like
what bees symbolize.
well, I didn't know what bees symbolized at the time, but I just knew. Like I prayed for this, and then all of a sudden there's like this crazy dream,
a prophecy
Yeah.
of some sort,
And the fact that it was so impactful to my sister-in-law
that
too.
she needed
She's
to like
really,
verbalize
right,
it.
right, right.
It's like that doesn't just happen. You know what I mean?
No, this is the first this is like the first time that this has ever happened to me, at least anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what this is. I know exactly what this is my calling, apparently. And
then you dropped the bomb. Well, yeah, like, I was invited to do some seminary.
Yeah, I did. So that's the first that either of my wife or my sister-in-law heard me even say that. And they were just like staring at me like, oh, okay, But I did it. Like I went through with it. Like there was a drive in me, and my belief and my faith was strong enough that I believed that was a sign from God, like obviously, So I signed up for this. Now, at this point in my life, I was a mechanic. I was not into academics, very much at all. So I just remember I go to the seminary. I'm sitting there around this table in my first theology class. All the guys, like you could tell, like they're just oozing academia,
Yeah.
They're like they look intelligent. They're, and I'm thinking to myself, like huge imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing here?
Right.
And, but I'll tell you, like in the midst of that, like, I think my blood pressure probably raised like through the roof. My heart was pounding, and I was probably one of like the number one contributors in that whole class. I absolutely, there's something that connected with me that was just like deeply rooted in my soul.
Yeah.
Like I knew, like, oh my gosh, like this is me. Like this, I'm made for this, So anyway, so I continued through the seminary program. It was a full, I think it took me 6 years to get through it in total. But I want to say after my 4th year, the seminary which I was going to merged with another seminary. And that seminary kind of gave you your own leadway to like structure. As long as you fit within their criteria, you could kind of go this way or that,
Yeah.
And or you could follow you could take the classes that they recommended, or you could like kind of go off and do your own studies, you know. So it just so happens, like right at that time where I make that switch, right? I'm flipping through my phone through podcasts or whatever. I couldn't even tell you at the time. And I saw an image of Jordan Peterson.
Nice.
Okay, I think we talked about him.
Reconnecting to your, interests.
Yeah. So, well, I didn't know the guy though. I had no idea who.
Oh.
I had no idea who Jordan Peterson. This was going back several years ago now.
Okay.
He's not as well known as he is now.
Now, yeah, okay.
He was kind of getting known, but not super. He did show up on my phone a few times, and must have, I don't know what algorithms I was following, but
yep.
There he was, and this time it said under the caption, "What does Jordan Peterson believe in God?" So of course, as a good Christian, I was like, "That's interesting." Let's see what.
Tap in.
Let's tap in and see what this guy has to say. And then so someone asked him, like, do you believe in God? And then he responds. His response was, "Well, it depends on what you mean by belief." The moment that I heard that, all of a sudden, it was like the foundation I was standing on just completely broke out from underneath my feet, and I began to do a downward spiral.
I love that, because most people would maybe say like, oh, it depends on your like definition of God, but instead he was more focused on not that element, but the more within of like, how do you define belief, which that is a very cool kind of out of the box way to even address that question.
Oh, this man had thought many years on, but what's interesting is like I knew exactly what he meant when he said that, and it was like the thing that probably made me an atheist back in the day, and I never really truly confronted now in my belief as a Christian. And at this point, I was probably a Christian for, I was probably like mid-30s. I was probably a Christian for about 10 years, for a decade, until when this point happened. So when that happened, I started a downward spiral, and the fact of the matter is that I realized that belief had variations to it. And so, yeah, it does. It really does matter, or what you mean by belief. And the fact that the entire Christian standard is completely setting on the idea of belief in
a unified belief, a belief that looks like a certain type of way.
Right, but it's like you don't really define what that certain. All you're saying is that you believe, like, let's say, in Christ's death and resurrection for your sins, right? And that's how you are saved.
Yep.
But that in itself has so many variables to even believing that. Are you believing it because you're afraid?
Right.
Are you believing to fit in?
Have you been told to believe in it?
Is it cultural? Like, did you grow up with it, so now it's just an instilled belief?
Seems like the thing to do.
There's that. Were you living a really bad life, and then you finally find hope in faith, and
then there's like styles of belief. Do you believe with your head? Do you believe with your heart? Do you believe with your gut?
Yeah.
Do you believe like with your logical side? Do you believe with like your emotional side? Like, there's so many different ways to believe in something, and then that can totally change what you necessarily believe in.
Right.
And like the parts that resonate. So that's a very interesting avenue of thought to even go into.
Well, and it even gets even more interesting, because I think the whole reason why this really triggered in my head was because this was also happening right as I guess it was 2020, right near 2020, with the pandemic, and Trump was in office, and the politics were starting to get more rigid, and all of a sudden, like, because it's like everything that was going on between politics, the COVID virus, and stuff like that, like everything was like, who do we trust? What media do we listen to?
It was scary. People were back in their fear. Like their fear center.
Yeah, for sure. And then you started to see this like massive chasm between Republican views and Democratic views, like more than I had in my time.
And there was so much resentment to it because everyone was uprooted by this virus and had a different opinion of how to like address it. And because it had such a limiting effect on people's lives, people felt angry about either side of it. They felt very passionately angry because of this issue so out of everyone's control. Yeah, and so it was such a confusing, strange time where people were pulled in. Like, I just remember stepping back out, like looking at the whole thing, being like, I mean, it was sort of fascinating to me. Yeah,
like how people were handling this on both sides, But one of the things that it made me realize is this, like, I thought to myself, it's like, oh my gosh, if, like, let's say I was born in like rural Florida or something, like I'd be almost guaranteed to be Republican because like my parents would be Republican, my brothers, sisters, all my friends, my neighbors,
right.
Like,
in which case COVID would have been, a totally different. I was in Florida during COVID. So.
Yeah. But then it's like, now take yourself out of that, put yourself in like Los Angeles, California.
Yeah. Or the
and
big cities,
my parents are Democrats, and then my sisters are Democrats, my friends, my neighbors. It's like, so what are you going to be? It's like, you're going to, if you were born over there, you're going to be Democrat. Like, it's just like, that's what you're going to be.
Yeah.
If you're honest with yourself.
That's a very interesting insight that you had during it. A lot of people, unfortunately, did not have that.
Well, most people were in it. Like, most people were in whatever group that they were in.
And you were still in seminary during it. That's interesting. So they didn't, did they halt the studies at all, or were you?
At this point, it was online.
Okay.
So I did have some in class time, but at this point, all my stuff was happening online.
That's nice. You had that to like anchor you through the experience.
It was no anchor, man.
It was
no,
not an
there
anchor.
was no because well, at this point, thankfully, right as this shift happened, all this was going on with politics. I came upon this Jordan Peterson video.
Yeah.
Everything kind of hit me at once. I was like, what's happening here? Like the whole structure of my understanding of my belief system just exploded, and it's like whoa. It's like, and that's when I realized just how variable belief could be. And it's like, does anyone really believe? Like, that was a question that came in my head. It's like, does anyone believe?
Yeah.
Because what is that? Like, if you're in a culture that has that belief, it's like, do you believe that? Is that you? It's like, you don't even know what's happened. You don't know what any of it means.
Right.
You're just going with it because it's your cult, because it's the culture that's around you.
Yep.
And so it's like, is that what happened to me? And then the thought came to me. Okay.
Oh, not the doubt.
Well, it was, what happened was, it's like, well, any Christian would tell you, like, if you are like, if you are part of another religion, like Hindu or something like that, it's like,
false gods.
Yeah.
We heard that so many times.
And the Christian idea is that you're going to eternal hell. Like,
which is crazy because our Hindu temple literally had its own altar for Christ, because they don't necessarily think Christ is in conflict with Hinduism. They think he was a part of it.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's like,
that's not how Christianity is, though.
I know, it's such a one-sided thing. It's like the Hindus love Christ, and then it's like on the other side, unrequited love.
Well, you'll even hear this. I've heard this. Even other branches of Christianity think that Christians are going to hell. Like,
if they're the wrong,
if they're the wrong type, or if their theology is a little off or something. It's like, it's vicious.
Again, how to believe. They're like, this is how you believe. It doesn't matter if you believe. You got to do it.
Right.
Yeah, it does. It gets rigid.
Yeah. So, I mean, then that crossed my mind. And I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, if I was born in India, I would be a Hindu. Like, no question about it.
Yeah.
And the thought crossed my mind. And I was like, at this point, I was no longer, like the door was open. I was no longer trying to sweep anything under a rug or hide anything subconsciously from myself. It was like, I had to look at it dead in the face and try to see things for what they were. And when I thought all these things, I was like, something is not right here. Like, what? Like, how do I reconcile this? So at this point, I was completely lost in any of my belief systems, period.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was losing my mind. I felt like I slipped into like almost like a psychosis it lasted like 2 years.
Yeah.
But in that 2-year period, there was something in me that was driven to find the answer, So I actually used the last 2 years of my seminary program to formulate those answers. And, well, I ended up, because of Jordan Peterson, I started reading some of his work, Maps of Meaning, started listening to some of his stuff, but then he ultimately led me to Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist. I started reading Jung like nobody's business. I just read books. Ion, all of us just started reading left and right, man.
Yeah.
And
you were searching.
I was searching, and I was finding answers there. Like, I was really young, and Peter, they all were helping me put pieces together into understanding what was actually happening. And at some point in the midst of that is when all of a sudden pieces started to come back together. And then I realized at that point that I had what people would consider like a spiritual awakening. So now I'm like, I feel like I came out of Plato's cave, basically. I'm seeing things for what they are.
Yep.
And I'm seeing even my own Christian faith, for what it was for the most part.
Right.
And so it's like, oh my gosh, how can I be? So now I'm a Christian, and I'm, it was like atheist, Christian, and then spiritual awakening. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But this was the progression, and I was able to see through all these lenses of what, Now, thankfully, I was able to reconcile my Christian faith because I was introduced to Christian symbolism. Like Jung was very big on symbolism. Jonathan Pageau, who runs a Symbolic World podcast, his brother Matthew wrote a book, Language of Creation. I read that whole book, and that book will mess you up. Like that, it will. So I was starting to put these pieces together.
Yeah. Rebuild all of the shattered ideas and build them into something that actually works together and actually reinforces into this strengthened, what you like to say, the mosaic.
Yes. Yeah. But, and it took me back. I started to realize the way that ancient people viewed the world when they wrote the scriptures in the first place, and what mythology itself actually, like, how it works, I guess, is the best way of putting it. And because of that, I was able to go back into the Bible, like into the Christian scripture, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm looking at this through completely different eyes. I mean, completely different eyes, And I was like, so what I realized is everything that was there is completely and utterly legit. It's just, we just forgot how to read it,
right? It was a different language.
Completely. And when I came to realize that, I was putting together all the esoteric weird things, you'll find in a lot of Jung's work and stuff like that, alchemy. There was lots, I read quite a bit on Eastern religions and stuff, and it was all like connecting, it was all making sense to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, here's these patterns, in everything. And it was just that, then it was like kind of glorious, man. It was like, I was free.
You can't ignore it. It's like this big, beautiful pink elephant in the room of just like, this is everything that we should be talking about. This is this is connects all these different layers of ideologies, psychology, like existential codes and patterns, all fitting together beautifully. And it's like, that's not a coincidence. That's the work of God.
Well, yes, you're 100% right. And it's like, what does that mean to be a work of God? It's like, that means that there's a truth. There is a truth, even amidst like all of the different opinions and religions, and there is that quote unquote golden thread that you often hear about. And when I was trying to put this together, I think I might have got this idea from Jordan Peterson, actually, but I think he had mentioned, like, if you could start stacking different things on top of each other, psychology, science, religion, whether that be Christianity or Eastern religions, whatever.
Yeah.
If you can stack them on top, and you find a pattern that does not contradict, like, the more you can do that, the more you have found a truth.
Yeah.
Even like biology, like all of that, like the way that the world actually comes together. That what you found is actually a thread of truth.
Yep.
Because nothing contradicts itself, and it just sticks together, and it begins to make sense. And that's like what I work towards, like with every last minute of my life in my day, I put into that, because that is what pulled me out of really kind of a psychosis,
Well, and that it also goes directly, you got to feel, instead of feeling fear, you got impassioned to keep seeking God, because you understood there's so many sides and languages and lenses of God you haven't even connected yet, and now you're building these beautiful layers on top of one another. And it truly is the pursuit of finding God, not out of fear, not out of structure, not out of societal, cultural, or any kind of outside enforcement, but truly out of that expression and that desire to learn of God and to connect with God. And to me, being able, if you want to know God, you must be a seeker. Period.
Great way of putting it.
If you want to be a Christian, go to church. If you want to know God, seek everything you possibly can.
And truth for that matter, like, it's weird to say that, but like that is what you're looking for. It's like, what is true to nature? You know, what is true?
Right.
Like, what, you know?
It's like what we can, everything of every lens of every religion was through the eyes of a man or women or whoever that put it to paper. But what is the utmost purest expression of God that we can study? Existence, reality. What has been created? What is around us? What can we touch, explore, feel, taste, think about, contemplate, like talk about? This is all of God, all of this creation, all of this existence. This is what is to be studied. And it's like everything that man has put from their perception into scripture of any kind, that's beautiful also. That is decodings of God's creations through their perspectives, which is just as valid. But you cannot oversee the fact that all of this existence, the pattern of existence, the patterns of reality, that is God's work. That is undeniable. There was no political, strings getting pulled. There was no lost scrolls. There was no mistranslations. This is it. And so it's like, if you are seeking to know God, you have to be open to seek in everything and build those layers on top of one another. Find those golden threads and make meaning out of it, you know, and find that connection and that trust and that love and that faith. And so since you've been really speaking of that, you then obviously decided to make that a mission, and you bought the church right down the street from us. How did that come about? So you were doing this chase of God, and then you were just granted a church?
Well, it was like, in the last 2 years of my seminary, I tried to, the best I could, write a lot of what I was experiencing, a lot of what I was finding. Well, they kind of passed me through because it made sense enough, but I don't think that they were gathering a lot of what I was trying to actually get out.
Yeah, they were like, he's got the spirit, so I guess he's all right.
Yeah. So, when I would bring certain things about symbolism up, certain things about even the numbers and the numerology in the Bible,
which I love that. I'm big on numerology.
Yeah, which, well, I was gonna say tomorrow's. Sorry, I don't want to.
No,
I was gonna say tomorrow is gonna be a sermon on that. And
as of recording.
Yeah. So, Noah's Ark. The numbers of transformation. That is probably one of the best sermons I've written so far. And if you really want to understand biblical numerology, like, this is going to be the one to watch.
And you do upload them.
Yes, they will be. Yes, so look it up on YouTube. Numbers of Transformation
from the Goathouse Church YouTube channel.
It's going to be. It will be posted. I think fairly soon. And it's man, it's like, once it's laid out there, it's hard to argue.
Right.
But anyway, a lot of that I was trying to unfold and show to a lot of the professors and whatnot, and it just wasn't landing,
Yeah.
And so I was like, it baffled me, honestly, if I can be like,
because it seems so obvious.
It just seems so obvious, and it's like, how is it that nobody's taking this as serious as I am? Like, that's what was shocking me. So I didn't know what to do about that. Like, I didn't know,
like, where to take all this that you were transmuting.
I was like, the only thing I could do, I thought, is to try to write a book or something,
right?
Send it to the seminary, to professors or whatever, anyone who's willing to read it, and like, whatever. Like, that's the only thing that was on my that I could think to do,
Yeah.
And sure enough, didn't this church come up for sale? Now, I preached at this church several years before, when I was in seminary. Yeah, because I had to do that as part of part of the class or whatever for experience or whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, when I preached there, I walked into this church, and the church is
Gorgeous.
It is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's tiny, it's small for compared to other churches, but it's absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful wood trim, like this big like
Yeah.
octagon in the sanctuary. It is truly beautiful, and it has like when was it built?
1913.
1913. Oh, just
Yeah.
a lot of craftsman styled architecture put into it, which is
Yeah.
so cool.
Very, very, very cool. So when I heard that it was coming up for sale, I like jumped up off the floor. I was like, we gotta try to buy that,
I was like, I preserve it. Like,
well, yeah, I don't know why. I just, it's one of them things where you just
knew.
Yeah, you're just driven to do it. It's like
didn't need a prophetic dream for that one.
No. So, but it's like I don't know what they're gonna want for it or whatever. So we wrote up this ridiculous offer. We sent it to the Methodist conference because it was originally a Methodist church, and I told them, like, we're going to keep it a church. Like, it's not going to be turned into like something else,
or something, yeah.
And so simply because the fact that they knew it was going to remain a church, they accepted our offers, no questions asked. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, we own a church? Like, are you kidding me?
Right. A gorgeous one.
Yeah. So it's like, there it is. But then it was like, okay, like now I gotta put this message together, So I just started writing sermons, trying to prepare for this thing to open. Yeah. And I was starting like at the very beginning, starting with sacred time, trying to explain sacred time, starting to explain sacred space, all the things that we're all familiar with in the spiritual world, but it's all right there in Genesis, all the same. And I just started there, teasing apart the symbols of the serpent. I've been working, and we're up into Noah's Ark now, but every bit of the scripture that I'm looking at, I'm able to pull apart on a symbolic level.
Yeah.
And because I can pull it apart on a symbolic level, you can build bridges to
apply it to anything.
Yeah. And also to reality, it's and practical living.
Yeah. Like, a lot of it is intentional living, where you talk about how you can use these lessons to better yourself and better your connection with the outside world.
Right. Yeah, that's why the name of your podcast fits well with this, because so much spirituality does feel like distant from what your practical living would be.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not though. It's like it is like the fabric of you're living it, and you don't even realize that you're living it.
Yes. Yeah.
It is the fabric that just kind of like is underlined of everything.
Yeah. Oh, a big core belief I have is like, you don't have to know that you're a spiritual being to be living a spiritual life.
Absolutely
just
not.
The fabric of existence is inherently spiritual. And even there's physicists to say that you start to go into physics and atheists, and at the bottom of your studies, you find God. It's just in the fabric. There is some sort of pattern that is so undeniably creative, and it resonates through everything, that it's hard to deny that there's something powerful, some sort of creative energy behind it. And like, even doing this intentional podcast, Dylan, my partner, he was like, why aren't you doing one on spirituality? Because he's like, you're a very strong conduit for spirituality. And I was like, well, my thing is, if I do a spiritual podcast, I'm going to be thrown in with all the other spiritual podcasts and getting listened to by all the spiritual people. I don't want spiritual listeners. I want regular people, standard humans with varying beliefs, listening to how you can just live your life intentionally, because they will find their own purpose. They will find their own belief and their own message. And so it is kind of cool. Like, I'm glad that you feel like my podcast resonates in that way, because it is something I kind of like, it's an undertone. If you're listening to that is the undertone, is that I want people to feel so empowered that they find their own meaning, because I don't want people to exist out of fear, period. Yeah. And that's like my biggest thing, is like my biggest, just like point of contempt growing up with organized religion was that so much of it was based in fear. Mm-hmm. So you got this church, and you wrote the sermons. And how did it feel going the night before your first, like, opening day?
I don't know. I don't even know.
You were outside of yourself at that point.
Yeah, I mean, this whole time I think I've been somewhere. It's been like surreal for sure. First off, like the demand is crushing at times. And I don't mean even like taking care of the church and writing the sermons and all that, because I'm still
Just
working full time.
The weight of what it means,
what it is, like what we're doing. That I'm like still trying to make sure, like I'm still trying to figure that out entirely. It's like, what are we doing? What is happening here?
Trying to find people, trying to lead people to find a beautiful, relentless truth out of everything in existence.
Yeah.
It's a big task.
Well, I don't know of any other actual churches doing this. Maybe there is, but
they usually get niched in. So there's like metaphysical churches, there's spiritual churches, and there's like non-denominational. Like
and that's the thing. Like I didn't want to leave the Christian background because I want to revive the Christian, like the true Christian message. Like it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like our Western culture, rooted in this Christian story, that Christian story is absolutely unbelievably incredible.
Yeah.
And the fact that I don't know, it's like what 60% people are Christian, and I'd wonder how much of that 60% are at all familiar with the things that I've been teaching,
right,
that are right there.
And how many of them are unfortunately plagued by so much fear. And it's like how many of them, lay and wonder, like on their deathbed, like, did I really get to know God in existence and myself the way I wanted to, And it's like, you hope that everyone practicing any sort of belief really has that belief, are really believing, but you don't know. And like, I know Christianity, even in my lifetime, it got a bad rep, where it was very much like people were like, oh, you believe in a sky daddy, or it's like, I think things had shifted away from, organized religion. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I think things go the way they're meant to. I don't question existence. I don't question why things play out the way they do. But I do think, as someone who did feel a splintering, like, away from Christianity, meeting you, going to the church, hearing the symbolism that coincides and complements my esoteric like beliefs, my spiritual, metaphysical, new age, my Hinduism, my Buddhism, my just general, like, my intuitive Danielle-isms, like, it was a breath of fresh air, because then it didn't seem like this huge corrupt power in the world, as much as just a misunderstood language. Just begging for open minds to try to, pull apart the tangles and look at the golden threads at hand.
Right.
And so it is a very big task to do, but I think it is important that you stayed within Christianity, because it needs that breath of fresh air to kind of reignite people's flames and their passions for it.
Well, the problem is that I think it's, as far as what I experienced, it's become so distorted in a way. That's why you get the negative feeling towards it. Everyone that's outside of it knows they're outside of it. They're well aware of the fact, and that Christian ethos in the center lets that be known very well.
Well, if you don't believe, you'll be damned.
Right.
I mean, they hold up signs on the street. That's not the thing to say. That's not how you're going to save people.
Yeah.
You don't freak them out on the side of the street or outside Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not.
Well, and here's the thing. It's like you're assuming these things. You're assuming you know what the scripture's saying, and you're assuming that it's that cut and dry and that clear. And it's like you have no idea.
Yeah.
Most likely, but they really, most likely, these people have no idea. It's like when we were speaking about the idea of death. It's like, well, what is hell and what is paradise?
Yeah.
If you look at the symbolism in the Bible, hell is going to be that separation, that parting away from each other, that breaks apart and separates life, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the devil comes from diablos, which means to take things apart, to rip them apart. So if you take
Wow.
them apart, you can't identify them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That is death. Okay? It's no more, there's no more meaning, there's no more identification. Symbol is actually the very opposite of diablos. Believe it, like symbol is actually to throw things together,
Mm-hmm.
that they come together, they make sense. You see purpose, you see meaning. So that's going to be paradise. Paradise is going to be when, let's say, we all come together in love.
Mm-hmm.
We can all accept each other properly in love. There's no more chasm. There's no more friction. There's no more separation. But we all live unified together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean that every person is exactly the same either. It's like the mosaic, because every like variation is beauty. You experience that.
Mm-hmm.
You literally experience that phenomena in life.
Yeah.
You see it in music, different notes, different tones. All of a sudden, you have a song, and the song just grips you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, different plants in an ecosystem. That's
Different,
the
yeah.
language of God, is
So,
the
yeah.
diversity that comes together and harmonize.
And
And that's the
harmonizes.
thing people need to
Yep.
understand. And then
So
bring
the
it
fact,
socially, you
yeah.
know? It's like,
Yes. So is it not strange, the fact that when you're standing on a soapbox driving people away, essentially,
mm-hmm.
you are actually doing the very opposite
Right.
of what
Because
should be.
you're
So you're not
dividing.
loving. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are drawing a specific chalk line. And why? Like, maybe to keep your, like, so that you feel as if you're part of another group, and you don't have to think or break away from that to try to put forth an effort to join in with others that may see things differently than yourself.
Yeah. And
You know,
it's interesting because isn't Christ did that in his own
that was the
waking life.
this
Like,
like this
he
is
hung out with like the sex workers and the poor, like the poor lower classes, just because he understood that they were one of him and he was one of them and they were all one of God.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, come on guys, like it's right there. And it is so hard. It's like they're too close to step back and
Yes,
recognize.
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, there's like they're right
You can't
here.
see the forest for the trees.
Yes, and it's like you just need to take a step back and like really reflect, like, are you truly treating these people as if they are one of you? Would you go up to your buddy in church and hold up a sign to them being like, you making sure you're not getting damned to all eternal
Yeah.
suffering today? It's like, no, you say, hey, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do that. And it's
The
a mess.
pattern that you see and happening in the church, in most churches today, is not much different than what you saw back in kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
In the primal times. It's like your kingdom, every that's the proper kingdom. Every kingdom that existed outside of your kingdom is the enemy.
Yeah.
It's a primal way of thinking. Christianity actually, that was this premier thing, was to break apart that primal mentality and to actually learn how to love and to sacrifice yourself to some degree for the sake of those who are different than you are. Like, what does it mean to bring Gentiles in with the Jews, to bring the outside in with the center?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Oh yeah, they even tried. I know, like I know very little about Christianity still, but luckily I'm learning more through you. But I know that it started very splintered and broken apart, and then the Bible was trying to corral everyone together to unify.
Yeah.
And it really shows an interesting thing about just human nature and the different patterns that humanity goes through, that it just has gone so spread apart again and very just splintered. And it's like we need to bring it together. And it's such a, and like especially we're in the age of the internet, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter who's tuning in, where they can look at your sermons, get that knowledge, apply it to whatever frames and lenses they've figured out with their own experience. Like I know, we walked in and I listened to your sermons. I'm like, oh, this makes sense with this. Like when you said the 12 pools of water with the palm trees, that's like, oh, like the 12 greater chakras and like the system of that, because that all flows. And like, I can take what you're saying, and instead of feeling like alienated or threatened or insulted or like sidelined, I can actually be like, oh, this is a place and this is a thought and like this is a welcoming space that I can bring what you say and just implement it in my own self, my own my own belief, and like actually kind of, again, get those golden threads and like just sew it all together. And it is really incredible that you're doing that, and it really has benefited me personally. And like we're really inspired to keep listening to your sermons. Like we don't ever want to miss a week because we're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah. And I'm glad to have you and Dylan there too. The satsangs are great because I don't have as deep of a background as you guys do in some of the other Eastern traditions. Now I do know some,
Yeah.
but not as much. So it's cool to be able for you guys to be able to bring that in, because what that shows, and this is important to take notice, what it shows is a universal truth.
Yeah.
Like these numbers all like kind of came out from the same foundation, so they mean something. It's like, okay, what do they mean? Like, what does the number 12 mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like once you get to know that, it's like now you can see how it actually applies in reality.
Oh, for sure.
And that's how we're going to actually open ourselves up, I think, back into meaning again. We all, like most of us, I think, look at the world objectively, and we've lost what the meaning of things are. So it's very easy for us to just think, oh, the number 12, and then associate it, oh, well, it's 12 chakras and it's 12 disciples. That's cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, wait, but there's more. Like, why is there 12 chakras? Why are there 12 disciples?
Yeah. How do even 1 and 2 interact? And like 10 of 1 and 2 of like just 2. Like how do and like any mathematician says that math is a beautiful art and language of itself. And it's like, it's cool. Now I do want to touch on the sat song. So when we say sat song, it's you have ever after like most chapters of your sermons or sections.
Yeah, it's like I'll do like 2 or 3 sermons, and then I can tell, so okay, now it's time to set a time apart that every, like, the congregation, everyone can just throw it out and just go,
anyone can walk in. We had the 2 people that had never been to church to the Goathouse before come in the middle of it, and we're just like, oh, come on. And they ended up just spilling their heart out about the topics we were talking about. And it is so refreshing that you sit down and you let anyone speak their truth. And it often, like, it seems like it gets off subject, but then it all always ties back in.
Yeah.
And everyone is so receptive and so open, and it is so beautiful. What made you want to do that?
It was a mistake in some sense, because there was it's that, like, nobody ever does that.
Happy accident, Bob Ross.
Well, but it was a snowstorm, I think, and that, like, one Sunday morning, and I thought, nobody's gonna show up, you know. But then one of the guys that was, working with trying to get the church up and going was like, well, I'm just gonna show up anyway, and I'll open the door, and whoever wants to walk in will walk in, and I'll just play the organ or something,
Yeah.
And I thought, well, dang, if he's gonna do that, I should probably try to get there, just and
just
whatever,
to be there.
Yeah, just to be there, because I thought to myself, some people need that gathering, that family. They don't have that during the week, and it's like, this is community, and we need community.
We need a third space of community,
you do.
Something to just bring in, especially Sunday morning, really just like bringing in the new week.
One moment, one sacred moment of the week that will always be there, like, no matter what.
Yeah.
That it's always been a part of us from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever, we'll put forth and then I thought, I don't have I'm not gonna do a sermon. I won't prepare the sermon.
One person.
Yeah. So I thought, if they all show up, we'll just sit around and talk about, like, whatever. And, like, it was the craziest thing because like 20 people showed up. It was like more people than what we were typically having at that time. And I was like, oh my gosh, all these people showed up, and it was magical.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really an incredible experience. So after that, I don't even think it was my decision, man. Everyone kind of overruled me. It's like, we have to keep that going.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, then so it is.
Yeah.
And so it was, man. We kept it going all this time, and we call them satsangs, and which is it's spiritual gathering, or a gathering of truth, I think, to discover truth. But and it's, oh my gosh, it's been such a blessing.
That was the first one I went to, because we have a mutual friend, Amelia, which she has an episode with us, and she literally like was like, oh, you need to go to this church, like you need to go to this church. And so I was like, okay, like I kept wanting to, but like its schedule was conflicting. And then one like Sunday morning, I was watching a Christ story on YouTube, and it was through Spirit Science, and it talked a lot about symbolism because that's what they do. And so I was like, okay, I'm feeling like really inspired. I looked at the time. I realized that it was going to be, I think 10 minutes. I had 10 minutes, and I was like in my jammies, and River was doing something. Dylan was doing something. I think Dylan was just like groggily getting his shit together because he likes to take his time on weekends. And I was like, hey, Dylan, I think I'm going to like go to that church. He's like, are you sure? He's like, I don't know about the vibes of that place. And I was like, Dylan, I think I'll be fine. Amelia goes there, and I think it's fine. I'm like, I'm just going to go, and I'll text you if the vibes are good. You know, I'm always the one to kind of test the waters for Dylan.
I got to ask you, did you think it was going to be like traditional Christian vibes, or did you think it was going to be like satanic church vibes?
I just thought it was like, you know, I've been to spiritual churches. Like I went to like a New Age metaphysical church before. I've went to like Unitarian Universalist church. So I just kind of anticipated something like that of its own thing. I did not know it was Christian, and I knew it wasn't satanic because
well, the goat thing throws a lot of people
I know
off.
And like I know that like Dylan was a little nervous about that, but I've been trying to convince him that 666 isn't an evil number for our entire relationship. So like I luckily knew that wasn't the vibe. So I was like, no, Dylan, like I just figured it was kind of like a loosely spiritual church because like Amelia has a spiritual shop. And so I was like, no, I'm just gonna go. I'll let you know how the vibes were. And it was a sat song that I walked into. And you were talking about the symbolism of the staff and the serpent.
Yep.
And I remember, like, I love open discussions. I'm a talker, obviously, podcast. Okay, like, duh. And so I loved it. And you guys were talking about something, and I remember I was able to bring up my brother and different things about how, like, you can really use a staff of principles and beliefs and core values to allow yourself to spiritually grow around. And you and the church were so receptive of that. I was like, holy shit. Like this is a good vibe. So I like snuck my phone out when someone else was talking, and I texted Dylan. I'm like, hey, the vibes are good. And then he ended up coming, I think that day. And, you know, ever since we didn't want to miss any because it was so welcoming. And just being able to sit in a circle and all of us bounce off each other in non-judgment and such a creative energy, and like you always allow it. Like there's nothing that like no one's like,
I legit had no genuine drive to try to pull anyone in any particular direction.
Right.
Like this, what I do is I stick to the biblical scripture, but I'm pulling apart the symbolism of exactly what it's saying, and you can integrate it however you want to integrate that. You know, it's an absolutely neutral space.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel that way much in myself. If it's not neutral, it's like you can be pulled into a direction that could be have its own intentions.
Yeah.
And that I do not want.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to have my intentions to try to pull people into some sort of an entrapment.
Right.
It's like people will sense that. Like you'll know when that's an ingenuineness.
Oh yeah.
So right. So it's so you, like I myself, and I really don't have any intentions of pulling people in towards me. It's
more of opening mind, which that's it.
It's truth. It's an open of truth, and it's a space that, like, thank God there can be a space where people can do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think. Like, there has to be that.
Yeah.
There has to be that where people who are wherever in their life can say whatever they want or whatever spectrum they're at, and not be judged, and allow themselves to be where they're at in whatever moment they're in, without some sort of strange intention to pull them in towards something that they're not. And like, I needed that. I think I needed that, so I've created the space that I needed. And because I knew, like, other people need this as well. And
so where can everyone find this church, find you? What should they look up to get in touch?
Well, I mean, they can check us out on YouTube as Goathouse Church, obviously. And we have an email address, which goathousechurch at gmail.com, so you can email us. And we are on Instagram, Goathouse Church, and
I saw that.
And I think Seth has us on TikTok actually as well. I think he just started that. So I think we're on almost all of the media networks at this point.
Nice.
We all kind of work together to make that happen. So I'm not in control of all of that, but
yes.
And then, of course, if you want to come and you want a community, a physical community to be part of, fantastic. Our address is 321 Island Street in Hamburg, Pennsylvania, and you're always welcome. It's Sunday, 10:30, every Sunday, 10:30. Our doors are going to be open to you, whoever you are, wherever you're at in life. We have no strange intentions.
Yeah.
We're not a cult. We're not trying to pull. Yeah, we're not a cult. We're not trying to pull you in to our
exploit you. All of that. No, it's very welcoming.
It is a truly, truly neutral space.
Yes.
As much as it could possibly be. So.
Yeah. Beautiful. And you will be doing more episodes. This is not the last of
Correct.
Josh. We're gonna get in deeper because we wanted to get Josh's background and the background of the church, but we also want to get deeper in on more of the philosophical, more of the bread and butter of everything. So if you enjoyed this, please stay tuned. Make sure you stay subscribed. You follow me on all the things, because there will be a few more episodes with Josh, because we have a lot to say, and 1 hour does not do this justice. So stay tuned in. Josh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dani. Appreciate
Your mission is seriously incredible. I think you're doing awesome things. I think what this is so big, but I think you're handling it masterfully.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot, because I'll tell you, it's like I feel like I'm always flying by the seat of my pants.
No, I think that's how it should feel, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you have this path is meant for you for a reason. I think you're doing great. And so thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you. Please remember that you can create the life that you exist for. Tune into yourself. What do you believe in? How do you believe in God? Figure out what you want out of your life and sort it out through yourself with open arms, and seek out whatever's going to fuel your intentions, your drives, your powers, and truly get to know yourself, get to know this life, because you deserve to create the life that you exist for. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Bye.